Hello and welcome. This is Vanessa Growlish, and today we're going to talk about the math behind owner financing. Let's do some math. Now, when does owner financing happen? Well, sometimes you have investors that have cash, they have proof of funds, they have proof that they're stable. That means that maybe they have a really good job, maybe they have a really good corporation that brings them money. Whatever the reason it is, you might have someone that might want to do owner financing. Now, a seller might want to do owner financing when the seller owns free and clear the house. So for example, I'm going to give you an example of an owner finance that we just did with a client. So the client wanted an investment. She saw this house. This house was $100,000. It was worth $100,000, but it needed at least $30,000 to get it, to be livable, to put it away, and to be financeable, because that's the thing. You might have a house that is free and clear, but if you don't have an air conditioning that works, if your plumbing is not okay, and I don't want to say it's not okay, it's not up to the standards that, it should be according to, when you have an appraiser coming, they might be like, no, I cannot give you the money because your house, basically, people cannot live here by law. And, maybe you don't have a good roof and you don't have the money to repay it. So that's when you might consider doing owner financing if you want a little bit more money than just waiting for a cash investors to basically just take the property, obviously on the price, because they are the only ones that are available to buy this type of investment. Now, if you are a seller, you might consider to do owner financing, and there are two things that you can do. Either an amortization schedule for either 5, 10 years, 20 years. I saw a 20-year deal, and that was incredible. But usually owner finance, they're short deals, 5 years, 10 years, because owner finance, what you want is just basically, to be the bank for a little bit, earn some money on interest. If the buyer does not, pay, or basically they default your mortgage because you're the one doing the owner finance, then you can go ahead and do exactly what banks do: sue the person, go through the whole legal process, and get the house back. This is what is extremely important, that you have always a good real estate lawyer. And I'm going to see if I can bring one to the podcast, because that way you know exactly what to do when things do not go the way they should go. Remember that anytime we talk about investments and money, risk management is the key. If you're able to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly that can happen in a transaction, not only in the short, but in the long term, you're going to be successful. You're going to be less stressed, because you're going to say, okay, this is how much money I want to make out of the owner financing. And I'm okay with the risk that if this person does not pay, I am okay to go ahead and go, with all the legal force to do and take care of whatever I have to do. If you have a seller that is just shaking just for the thought of owner financing, so it might just not be a good idea, because yes, you will make money, but it's a risk that you're taking. Someone defaulting, someone basically not paying. So yes, the property management is not fun. And I'm going to give a kiss to all those property management people, because it is not an easy job to do property management. No one calls you happy. No one. That and insurance. I used to work for an insurance company. No one ever calls you happy. No one ever calls, I'm not going to say the name, but it started with an S. No one calls and they were like, oh, I'm so happy my insurance is so low. No, everyone will call and be like, I'm pissed off. That is exactly what sometimes owner financing can be, because you're the one basically dealing with the risk of what's going to happen if they don't pay, and so on. Now, this is not a problem. If you have a seller that is willing to do this, and he or she, they have the resources to say, look, I have a lawyer in place, I have all this, let's just do it. Then you go to the second question. Let's go ahead and do some numbers. How much will it cost you, to do owner finance as a buyer, and how much can you make in owner finance as a seller? So what we're going to do, we're going to do 2 amortizations. We're going to do one straight amortization, and I'm going to show you basically the difference, and we're going to do a balloon payment amortization, because these are the most common deals when you have owner financing. So let me go ahead and share the screen. I'm not sure where the things are, but I'm gonna go ahead and just grab them from here, right here. Okay, so we have the balloon and we have the regular one. Okay, so basically what you do, let's say that, you know, the house, and I'm just making here an example, okay? Let's just say that the house is $100,000. You got like a little nice house here in Daytona Beach that, you know, the prices are like going up like too fast, to put it away. And then remember, the mortgage is not going to be 30 years. You probably will have something like 5 years or 10 years. Let's go ahead and do the worst scenario, 5 years. And then notice that the interest rates are very low. But if you're doing owner financing, you're going to bump up the rate a little bit more because you are the one taking the risk of doing this. So I'm just going to put a 4.5%, but that is up to the discretion of the seller. They can put 6, they can put 7. And again, this is all negotiable. You need to always, when you're doing the listing, just tell your seller, what do you want and what is the range that you will be willing to accept in order to make this deal happen, and that will make things easier. Communication and clarification. So I click calculate, and boom. The monthly payments, this means for 5 years, for 60 months are going to be $1,864. Not that bad. Now, how do they find this total interest paid? Well, look what you're gonna do. If you multiply the payments, 1864.30 or $1,864 with 30 cents, and you multiply times 60. Why 60? Because you're making 60 payments of $1,864 with 30 cents. This is going to show you that you have paid $111,858, but then you take your principal, which is $100,000, and look what you have, $11,858, which matches what the total interest pay is right here. So that's where the total interest pay comes up. If you click here, show amortization schedule, you can then see how the payments, right, are distributed. Notice that amortization tables, look what happens. The payment is going to be fixed. That means that it's not going to change, okay? The principal, as you can see here, when the person makes a payment, like notice that the principal at the beginning is just going to be, right? So you're gonna go 489, 494, and then it's going to start going up, 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 because when the time passes, what's going to happen is that more toward, from the $1,864 that you're making the payment, the principal, you're going to get $1,489, for example, but then it's going to start increasing, and the interest, you're going to see that it's going to start decreasing. So notice how the capital, like what you put towards the capital, is going to go up, the interest is going to go down, and that's how finally, right, you're able to pay back your mortgage. Sometimes this can work, but sometimes you might have a buyer that might say, I want to do a balloon payment because I don't want to pay this much money. Maybe it's $100,000 the house. Let's just do a quick analysis. You have $100,000, but you have to put at least $30,000. And this house in the current market, all fixed, financeable, and all that. Remember, we're assuming that the seller just wants to get rid of it and just wants to do a little bit of money. And he or she, they don't want to do the repairs. And this is the reason why they're doing owner financing, because they're like, let me just, make a little bit of money. But for the buyer, this is convenient to understand monthly payments, right? Plus how much money you're going to have to spend on the house. Because if you're getting a house for $100,000, but the same house comparable, again, once you fix it, goes for $150, and you only need to fix it for $20, you might want to do this. You might want to go ahead and just say, okay, I'm going to owner finance for 5 years because I'm going to go ahead, fix the house, flip it, and bye-bye. Or you might just say, you know what, I'm just going to fix it and just going to live there, and I'm okay with that. So you can go both ways. Now, an amortization schedule calculator, this is just if you're doing basically when you have equal installments. But you might want to do maybe a balloon mortgage, and let's just do this one. And why? Well, the balloon mortgage calculator is just going to show you that the first, we're going to do it for 5 years. All the payments that you're going to be doing monthly are only going towards interest. So we're going to see how this is going to play in a balloon mortgage calculator. So let's say that you want to do $100,000, we're gonna do a 5-year mortgage, and the rate here, we're gonna put 4.5. I'm gonna tell you, these type of loans do have a much higher rate than what the bank is gonna give you, because obviously you're doing owner financing. So it's not really that bad. I think it all depends on you as an investor, how risk averse you feel about it. But you also need to consider that borrowing money can be costly, because if you're doing it with a bank, the bank can manage the risk of, if you don't default, they have the resources. But if you're an owner, if you are basically like seller financing, then you're going to have to you're going to have a headache with you. So let's just put 4.5% and look what's going to happen. So we do the terms, and look, the monthly payment, remember the other monthly payment was like almost $2,000. It's only $506. But the balloon payment that you have to give at the end is going to be $91,664 with 26 cents. So let me just show you here. I think they have like an amortization table right here. So look at this. Notice that in this table, the payments are going to be the same. Vanessa, why are they so low? Because they're only counting the interest, not the principal. Notice that only a little bit goes to the principal, much more goes for interest, but then at the end, okay, at the end of the 60, basically after your 5 years are done, you have to pay a huge, and that's the reason why they call it balloon payment, because it goes like up, 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 and then boom, you have the huge payment. Then you're going to have to do a payment of $91,664.26. So what is the difference between having basically like a regular amortization where your payment is fixed? You're going to have a much higher payment, remember $1,800, against a balloon, this balloon mortgage, where your monthly payments are going to be much more lower. Think about it, 500 compared to 2,000, and that might just give you time to basically like get the house together, start maybe renting it. Maybe you can start renting it for $1,500. I'm talking about like, on let's just actually make more realistic numbers. $100,000 house, maybe you can rent it for like $1,200, but don't forget, you're going to have to fix the house and all that, depending on the condition of the house. But this is the start of how to do the math and tell your seller, look, this is how much money you can make over the interest, right? Nothing happens. If you have to do how do you call it? If you have to go ahead and go after the buyer because they didn't default, we also need to take that in consideration. So is owner financing worth it? I think it is. I think if you understand what you're doing, and if you have a network of plumbers, air conditioning people, and everyone that just basically, because that's the hardest part, to get a good network of people that you just call and you're like, dude, I have a kitchen and everything for you and a plumbing, come and give me a quote, then that's honestly where the money goes, because investment is all about timing and quality. If you get like, if you already have, for example, an electrician that you have already used for several houses, and if you start doing this as an investment career, think about it. When those people see your phone call, they're like, where do you want me to go? And I'll give you a good estimate. And that's how you start building up wealth, not only with money, but you also start building up relationships. And God, those are like worth every single penny. So just to recap, owner finance is just basically done when a seller might not be able to basically finance the house, with a regular institution, because the house might be destroyed in really bad condition. And they might think like, okay, I either gonna get cash, let's say the house is 100,000, a cash buyer is gonna come and basically, undermine the price. But maybe you might do owner financing, and then from there you might say, I'm gonna do owner financing, but I want $100,000. I want you to do it as a balloon payment, or I want you to do it, let's say if you're the seller and you say, I don't want any balloon payments. All what I want is my $1,800. So this is good for you to tell your seller, these are the options. And obviously also to tell your buyer, these are the options. At the end of the day, if both parties, the numbers match, it's a deal from heaven, hopefully. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this mini math tutorial. I'm going to be bringing a little bit more Excel, little by little. I think sometimes people get a little bit nervous with Excel, but it's always going to be easy and it's always going to be fun. I promise you that. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.